Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships, and above all, healing from these relationships. So let's take on a little sort of gaslighting quirk that narcissistic people may use when you ask them if they could just try and understand your point of view, right? Because that's all you want. Listen, if you were to ask most people who are going through narcissistic relationships, especially narcissistic relationships that they aren't ready to leave or don't fully understand what they want in the relationship, most of you would say, I want them to understand what I'm going through in this relationship. I want them to understand my point of view. I want them to at least understand what this feels like for me. That absolutely makes sense to me. One of the most human wants in the world is to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood. This, frankly, is actually the core of love. It's what good parenting is supposed to be. It's the essence of empathy. And it's what people come to therapy to get, to be accurately seen and heard and felt, and to have your experience validated, and to not feel crazy. You may not want or need much else if you could get that. You may even be okay-ish with them not doing the things you want, as long as they could just get how you feel. So here's a doozy, I was told. Someone told me that in their narcissistic relationship, the narcissistic person recognized that they didn't want the relationship to end. But the narcissistic person had nothing but contempt for the other person in the relationship. And they said to that other person they were in a relationship with, they said, if I lie to myself, then I can see your point of view. Great, right? Lovely. And I've heard this variant from other people. Things like the narcissistic person saying, yeah, if I were delusional, I would totally understand your point of view. Yeah, if I were to deceive myself, then sure, I could get in line with what you believe. But the general upshot is basically a person saying, if I lie to myself, if I suspend all reality, then sure, I can get what you believe or you feel you experience. Frankly, I think you were better off with them just not getting it. Because when they go here, this is in essence them saying that in order for someone to be empathic or validate or even understand where you're coming from, they would have to be crazy or deceptive or lie to themselves or defy reality to take on your or to even attempt to understand your point of view. It would be easier if they just came out and said that they think you were insane. Just stick to clean traditional gaslighting. But this kind of point of view can be something, for example, that might come out of something like couples therapy or mediation or some other circumstance when an outside person may be looking at an interaction and may be suggesting to the narcissistic person that they at least attempt to see things from the other person's perspective. However, if this is the answer you get from the narcissistic person, you would be better off just knowing that they will never get there. Exercises in which we try to induce empathy from the narcissistic person rarely work, and they often re-hurt and re-harm the other person. And empathy that you have to kind of pull out of or induce from another person doesn't feel good. If it doesn't come automatically, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have someone have to forcibly extricate it from themselves. I'm not even sure if that's empathy. However, the gaslighting and the power imbalance that is so endemic in narcissistic relationships, well, that's not going anywhere. So even when the narcissistic person is forced to see things from your point of view, they will basically say, I have to be out of my mind, or I have to give up on what I know is right to be able to even consider your point of view. An example could be a person saying, hey, I'm struggling with how you don't see that I am working as hard as you are with my job and managing the kids and our parents, and you don't see all that I do. And after saying that, hearing back from the narcissistic person that, okay, I guess if you need me to lie to myself and then say, oh, you do way more than me, well, I guess I could tell that lie. Or the person who says to a family member, don't you see how hurtful it is to me when you tell me things didn't happen to me that did and that I'm still struggling with? And then the narcissistic family member says, sure, I could become delusional and get a brain transplant. And then absolutely, I will get your sort of cuckoo construction of the world. So a plea to be heard by a narcissist is not only heard, it is mocked. And you are told, you want that? To be seen or heard? Well, okay then. In order to see that, I need to deny reality, as though you're gaslighting them by asking them to at least try to see your point of view. You may even get the mockery version of this. Imagine them in a mocking tone and them saying, oh, you want me to see how you are the saint of all time and always suffering and work so hard and always sacrifice and suffer. And you want for me to buy that fairy tale of yours. Is that it? Okay, let's go live in fairyland together. That is not nice. The biggest mistake a person can make in one of these relationships with a narcissist is to engage. Remember the rule, don't defend, don't explain, don't engage, don't personalize. Well, this is that. As long as you do this dance with them, you are not fully at radical acceptance. They're never going to get your point of view or see your point of view. Hell, you're not even asking them to agree with your point of view, but merely to just see if they could get it just a little. But if they were to get your point of view, then they give up some of that power. And trust me, they are not going to do that. So do yourself a favor and find the other validating voices in your world. Get your reality checks there. Friends, therapy, support groups, whatever it may be. But to put yourself in a position where you try to get that moment of being understood by a narcissistic person can actually leave you feeling much more misunderstood. And it's just not worth it. Most of us learn this the painful way. In our desperate attempt to make it work, we think maybe if they just articulate that they get it, I can make it work. This ask from them can make it worse. But like a lot of the going into the tiger's cage stuff, maybe seeing how they respond to you can also reinforce, or at least remind you, how important real, true, deep, radical acceptance is. But yeah, if someone says they need to lie to themselves to even begin to understand your point of view, that's what you're dealing with. Thanks again.